everybody. Welcome to Primo Perspective. I'm Kristen Borth.
Guys, I'm Lorie Mills.
Lorie, so we're going to talk about vacations today.
Yay! I heard that you had a most fantastic vacation a couple of weeks ago.
I did. But before I took the vacation, I remember talking to you and saying, "Oh, I'm going to have this ready and I'm going to have this prepared and I'm going to make sure that this is taken care of," and all the anxiety built up that when I got on vacation, I actually had a really hard time coming down from my vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention that I haven't taken a real vacation in 7 years. So
Yeah.
that's a thing, but it just made me think the entire time that I was on my cruise, how bad Americans are at vacation. First of all. But secondly, how bad healthcare workers tend to be at vacation. We feel like we can't take time off because healthcare depends on people being there. It's not like you can just shut your business down for a week and be like, "Oh, we'll come back and touch that when we get back." But you kept reminding me of something. And so I think it's something that's really important for everybody, healthcare or not, to hear. So will you share with me what you kept telling me? Share with the audience what you kept telling me.
Yeah, because it's kind of brutal. It's like nobody's going to die if you're not here. I mean, in reality, they're not.
Yeah.
No one is going to die. The business is not going to fall apart. I mean, it is going to be fine. You can take time off without having to check your emails, without having to be in constant contact with us. And I think one thing that makes it where you can take a vacation and enjoy it is know that you have confidence in your team that you leave behind that is manning everything while you're gone. That's also important, is that, if you're a leader and you cannot be gone for one day without your team having to call you to ask for permission or ask what to do, then you're not a very effective leader. So yes, unplugging, getting away is so important. And I've tried to start making that a policy. And so when I went on vacation back in December, you were like, "I am not calling you. I'm not texting you." I did not buy the Wi-Fi package because I didn't want to be, I wanted to make sure I was not tempted to check in. And you know what? Nobody died. It was okay.
Yes.
And
nobody died.
Gone. Nobody died.
And that I was. Yes. And that really hit home to me because it was like, okay, I want so badly to have it all be wonderful, all be perfect, all be easy for everybody when I leave. Because ultimately, I am just one person. I don't carry the whole team. You and Vicky and you guys rocked it. And that was something when a year and a half ago, when I started thinking about planning this, I really dove into it and I was like, okay, so what do I need to do? How do I need to do this? It was like this whole process of what am I going to do? And I read this article, and I wish I could find it because I tried to find it all week long. But I read this article about this guy saying that leaders set tones. And when leaders don't take vacation, the rest of the company feels like they shouldn't take vacations. But also, he said, don't ignore all of the benefits with vacation. He said, yeah, sure, there are some for yourself. Let's talk about those in a minute. But the ones that for the company that are the most positive are anything that needs to be done gets fixed ahead of time. Yes. Amen.
Yes.
Went through that. Anything that was outstanding or left got done. But then I got to discover anything that was broken and then find a new way to fix it. So while I was gone, did anything break?
Nope. Look, I had told Lauren.
And what happens?
I told Lauren, I said, "Lauren, short of a corporate takeover, I will not call Kristen or text her about anything business related." And your response to me was, "Well, I wouldn't have known what to do with a corporate takeover either." So, it was just funny that The only thing I would have called you for, you were like, oh, I don't know what I'd do with that. So, there was
Well,
nothing that I needed to call
yeah,
you about. Yeah, that was your response was really funny when I said that
and
was the only thing.
well, I was like, oh no, like what would I have done? I mean, I'm sure in the time I would have been like, okay, we need to do this, this, and this. But
Right.
when thinking about it, I was like, oh no, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. But it took until Tuesday. So we left on the cruise on Saturday. It took until Tuesday. And I very vividly remember, and I can't remember if it was my mom or if it was my husband, but they both looked at me and they were like, Kristen, you tell us all the time how amazing Lorie is. And they were like, do you think that you're making her seem amazing by stressing? And I was like, oh, no. Like, I have every confidence in the world, but it wasn't about my confidence. To them, it was, but it wasn't about my confidence in you. It was more so that I felt like I was leaving you to do it on your own. And so
Right.
it hit home. And I was like, you know what? I'm not sure that I'm doing Lorie justice by sitting over here stressing when I should be vacationing and then relax and get back and be into it. And so it was an amazing aha moment for me because you are fantastic and you can handle anything.
Thank you. Well, I think back like my vacation last year, and it was so funny because, like I said, no Wi-Fi or anything.
Yeah.
And then we started coming back to the States, and on Saturday, I started getting text messages and emails. And one of the text messages was from a CMO, an old CMO I used to work with, and he had texted me. And then I had another text, and then the third text was, "Why are you not answering me? Where are you at?" And of course, I text him back, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm on a cruise. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll give you a call. We'll set something up." But it was funny because his response was, "You're always there. You're always there, no matter when I text you or call you. You're there, and you're not answering me now. So where are you at? What's wrong?"
Yeah.
And that I just thought that was funny that was what happened. And not only did he text me, I had other people texting me about business stuff, and I would text them and say, "Hey, I'm back." So my vacation went really well until I started on Saturday, when I would be back on Sunday thinking, okay, this is what I got to do. This is what's going on. This is who's called. This is who's emailed, and what am I going to do about it? But we don't unplug. And I have found that even when I worked for a hospital system, it was never said you have to be available all the time.
Right.
But it felt to be an expectation of, if I email you, if I text you, if I call you, you need to pick up, regardless of if you're on PTO or what. So I started telling my boss, and I told like my vendors and things like that. If something happens that's an emergency, and I'm the only one that can fix it, or I'm the only one that can address it. Like, you've talked to my team, you've gone through all of those channels, and it can't be resolved, and you need me, I need you to call me. Don't email me. I need you to call me, because I'm not checking emails. But if it's important enough that I need to address it, you need to call me or text me directly. And so that's kind of been my rule of, I'm not going to look at the emails. You're just going to have to call or text.
Yeah, especially if it's something like you were supposed to be off, and it's an emergency that only you can handle. You saying that made me think of the woman that we were speaking to at the Mississippi HFMA conference that we were just at, where she said that they put in the job description that they needed to be available 24/7.
24/7. Yep.
Oh my goodness. And I remember sitting there and thinking like, man, I like try to be available all the time for you, for Vicky, for our clients, but to guarantee that you are available, that's just not reasonable. And that brings me to the whole healthcare experience. And when I looked this up, and I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but when I looked this up, healthcare is one of the worst at taking vacations, healthcare workers.
Yeah.
And we could make a lot of excuses like, well, nurses only work 3/12, so do they really need to take vacation because they could just schedule their time? Yes, absolutely. They
Yes, they need a
absolutely do.
vacation.
You know, but when healthcare starts putting in the stipulations like, oh, you need to be available 24/7 unless you're on vacation, but if you're on vacation, we're only going to allot you
Right.
2 weeks and I don't know. I'm making that up. But
Right.
something small and minuscule for the amount
Mm-hmm.
of time that you are dedicating to the administrative side, it's not
Mm-hmm.
even direct patient care.
Right. So
It
the
was
thing that I found so interesting about that job description she was telling us that was for 24/7, it was for a controller. We
Yes,
are talking
thank you. I couldn't
about
remember what it was.
yeah, it was a controller, an accountant.
Yes.
That is what you're talking about. You want an accountant to sign on to be available 24/7, 365. And I was thinking, what are they going to do at 2 a.m. as a controller
Thank you.
that you got to have them?
Right.
I mean, really, we're talking about numbers people, okay?
Mhm.
And she also, if you'll recall, that job had been open for a year and nobody had ever applied
Yes.
for it.
Yes, because
Nobody.
she was considering it at first because it was closer to her home. And then she was
Right.
like, oh no.
Yeah, no, I would not sign on to a job that was the description. But I'm thinking, okay, she was talking about it was a clinical position or something,
Right.
like emergency medicine or something. You got a physician that needs to be, but even then, that should not be even entertained
No.
as a possibility. But when she told me it was for a controller, I was like, I mean, really, there again, who's going to die because the controller's not there at 2 a.m.?
Exactly. Exactly. Now, okay, I want to just make a distinction because I started thinking about this on my vacation and thought about it and thought about it and thought about it and landed on this same conclusion. Even for clinicians, we're going to split hairs here, but even for clinicians, people might pass away. That might happen while they're gone. But it's not because that person took vacation. It's not because that person took vacation.
No.
So your statement to me, your proclamation, it was perfect. But it plays out in healthcare, even for clinicians. They're going to find somebody to fill in. They're going to have somebody there. And it's not going to be because you took vacation that person passes away. They came into the hospital for a reason. It just, I feel like healthcare's got this inflated view of how things work and that somebody does need to be there 24/7. Sure. But it doesn't have to be the same person and it doesn't have to be all the time.
That's right. And kind of related, and we had not talked about this segment of it, but for instance, being sick. So in 2020, I was really, really sick and I was in and out of the hospital a lot. I was in the ICU like 4 times. I was in the hospital 12 times, it was really bad. Yeah. So I would take my laptop. I would tell Sam, hey, bring me my laptop. I did calls from my ICU bed. I would work from my ICU bed. And finally, the nurses were like, Lorie, you cannot work from your ICU bed. Now, once you get out on the floor, you can do whatever. She said, but you cannot work from your ICU bed. So then, because I was in the hospital so much, I would be like, okay, so I wouldn't get my laptop out while I was in the ICU, but you can bet as soon as I made it to a regular room on the floor, girl, that laptop was out and I was doing Zoom calls and meetings and things like that. And so, but why? Why do we do that? Why do we feel like we have to do that?
I don't know. I mean, I know that I have, just like you, a very strong work ethic. I am very committed to what I'm doing. I also love what I do. So it's not like I'm trudging away at a job. Now, I will admit, if Debbie had hired me and said, Kristen, I want to hire you for this job, but you have to be available 24/7. I would have been like, I love it, but not that much. So, I think that would have put a damper on it. But I do find myself in it. And I do wonder if it's because I love it, if it's because I am ultra committed to our team and making it work for our team. And maybe that's where a lot of healthcare workers are. They're ultra committed. They go into healthcare for a reason, some for other reasons, but there is a heart of service in healthcare. So
yeah,
I wonder if it's, I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I think I know for myself, it is okay. I can feel bad anywhere. So if I can work, I might as well work. Even if I feel bad, that's kind of how I am. They laughed at me. I was on a client site not too long ago. And when I say a client site, this is my hometown client site. So I have a very special relationship with them. Well, I knew I needed fluids, and that's a chronic condition. I have to have fluids occasionally. And I was like, hey, can you write me some orders for some fluids? So I went out to the clinic and I said, hey, y'all hook me up on an IV and put it on a pole. I've got to go back to this meeting. So here I am walking into the boardroom with an IV pole and an IV running to have a meeting. But it was a meeting I couldn't miss. I mean, it was like nobody would have died if I had not have been there. But I was like, okay, I can sit in a chair out here in the IV infusion clinic and have fluids run in, or I can sit in a chair in the boardroom and have fluids run in. So here I go bringing my IV pole into the boardroom, and but we do that as healthcare people. We do that a lot of times because we do. I guess we feel like if we don't go, we're going to let somebody down. Somebody's not going to get the care they need if we're not there. Something's going to happen that's going to cause issues. So we want to make sure we're there so we can take care of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we do have this crazy sense of, loyalty of I got to make sure this is done, or I've got to be there. Nobody else can do this but me. Yeah. And I don't know why we do that.
No, I don't either. And you know what's funny is you brought that up and I immediately thought of a Grey's Anatomy episode where I can't remember her name. They called her the Nazi on the show.
I've never watched Grey's Anatomy.
You've never watched Grey's Anatomy?
I've never watched it.
Let me paint this scene for you because this is giving me Lorie vibes. Okay, so in this Grey's Anatomy scene, and I can't remember her name, but she was one of my favorite characters. She is taking care of all the interns, and she shows up. And she's got an IV pole and she's giving them orders, telling them what to do, where to go. And they're like, are you okay? And she's like, I'm fine. Leave me alone. And like walks off. But she's, hanging out with this IV pole the entire time she's there. And it made me laugh because it was like, oh my word, that's so dramatic. But you've done it. I've done it. I've done it in two different instances. You've done it in more, I'm sure. But two different instances on two different cases where I was going through accreditation with the school that I was working at. Horribly sick. I was very pregnant, but I was vomiting like hourly with this baby. Loved it. It was the best thing ever to sit into a meeting and be like, oh, excuse me, 1 minute. Turn my camera off, run and vomit, and come back and be like, okay, I'm on. I'm here again. It was the dumbest thing I could have done. Why did I feel like I need to do that?
Why? Yeah. I know. I think part of it is, like I said, we're all so loyal and we want to make sure we're there and we're doing our job. But it's kind of been ingrained to us to do a good job no matter what. I mean, our generation, we really have been taught a very strong work ethic. And I've seen my dad work when he was sick and my mom work when she was sick, and it was just like, it's just one of those things that if I'm not dying in the bed, I need to be working. I need to be fulfilling my obligation to my employer. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's really not. It's not a good thing. We shouldn't do that. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves better than we do, because I know mentally you get into a place where you're not performing at your peak levels when you're trying to work when you're sick, or when you're on vacation and you're torn between your family on vacation and work and you're trying to juggle all of it. There's no way. We're human, and there's no way we can all work to our 100% if we are in those situations. And I think that's where we have to take a step back and say, okay, am I doing justice to my organization trying to do this. I feel like I am. The human part of me feels like I am. I'm doing this while I'm sick. But are we really making the best decisions? And is our mental space at 100% when we're trying to do that?
Right.
And the answer is no, it's not. You are not at 100% when you're in those situations.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
yeah.
And that doesn't mean that you're not trying to give 100%. You're just not capable of it because you're human.
Capable.
Yeah.
Right. And I wished we would just accept the fact, or we would just say, it's okay. You are not Superwoman. You're not Superman. It's okay to let go sometimes. I know. So Vicky, the week before you went on vacation, Vicky was on vacation. She went on a cruise. It's cruise year for us, I guess. And one of the last things I told her, I said, do not buy the Wi-Fi. Don't take your laptop. I will take care of whatever comes through. We've got a client that that's very reliant on her. And I was like, don't you talk to them. Don't get on a call. Just don't do it. Well, she did take her laptop and she did get the Wi-Fi, but she didn't do anything. She didn't work or anything while she was there. But I was like, I told her, like I told you, nobody's going to die while you're gone.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay to unplug and enjoy your family. And she did, but she still, she just like me, the day before she was getting back, she was starting to get back in that work mode of, okay, this is what I've got to do. This is what's waiting on me, and what else has happened. And granted, when she got back, I had some distressing news for her, but I didn't tell her until like that Monday. And I was like, I hope you enjoyed your vacation, but can you call me this morning? We really need to talk early. But there again, it was something bad that happened with a client, but it still was okay. They did not have to have her. It was okay. And I think we really all have to get to that place. You on The Pit, because
it's true.
I know you've watched it. Have you watched The Pit, the episode where they went on downtime and the medical student?
Yes.
Now this I didn't agree with, but that's just the difference in generations. They were the team was having to stay behind after shift and scan charts because they had been on downtime all day. Now, first off, that doesn't happen. The medical team doesn't scan the charts. Okay, we all know that goes to HIM. But the medical student gets her purse and she's walking out the door, and one of them said, "You're not going to stay and help? You're not going to?" She said, "I don't get paid for this, and it's time for me to go." And she left. And I was thinking, I would have never done that. But that is the difference in how our generations. And I'm not saying that what she did was a bad thing. It's not. I feel like maybe we need to be a little better at protecting ourselves, our mental status, and our physical status as they do now. And we're going to have to evolve as leaders and understand that mentality, because if we don't support those younger employees that have that well-defined barrier between this is my work life and this is my home life or personal life, you're going to see a revolving door. So we've got to figure out how to marry these two, because it can't be anymore. Well, if you don't do it, there's the door. You can take it, because they're going to say, bye. Okay. We got to figure out how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. You bring up a really good point. And I think that's something that our generations and before us were really, I don't want to say bad. We blurred the lines. I'm going to use that term. We blurred the lines with this, but I feel like the newer generations have really strong boundaries when it comes to working. And I don't know what that's like. I have caught myself working at 2 a.m. I have caught myself working, at a birthday party. I have caught myself working while my children are, practicing for Taekwondo, when I could just be sitting there watching them, because why not? And so I feel like there's a lot we can learn from this new generation in terms of boundaries. But there's a lot we can also teach with that loyalty component, that driven component, because there's a reason why we have advanced in so many ways over the last, let's just say 50 years.
Right.
I mean, it's been more, but let's just say 50 years. But there's a reason why, and there's that push. We all like to dog on the next generation,
Right.
ahead of us or the generation behind us. We like to do it. It's a thing we do. I don't know if it's really necessary, but we do it. However, in that, we could find boundaries that say, okay, well, I get 3 weeks of vacation. I'm going to use 3 weeks of vacation, doggone it. And
Right.
I'm going to reinvest my time with my family and make sure that I'm resetting. So
Yeah.
do you have a goal or a commitment for this year or this next year that you're going to do for vacations?
Well, so we've actually talked about that, and Sam wants to take another cruise this December. And do you know what I told him? No, because we're going on a cruise in February or April for a destination wedding of some family. And I was like, I can't be gone that much. Okay. I can't be gone that much. I can't go a whole week in December. And then we've got the holidays. And then there we are in the spring going to go on a cruise for a family destination wedding. And you know what? It's not like I don't have the time. I could. I have enough vacation to cover all of it. It's a matter of tearing myself away. How do I tear myself away?
Right.
Yeah. And figuring that out. But we are going to try to take more little trips, maybe take some like leave on Thursday and take a Friday, Saturday and come back on Sunday, take some little trips to just kind of unplug and decompress. Because I find myself when Kristen did my evaluation last year, she had glowing reviews for my evaluation, except for one thing that I kind of got chastised for. And that was, you work too much. You work too much.
A bad thing, but it is for you.
Because I do work a lot of weekends, a lot of Saturdays and Sundays where, especially if I'm helping audit charts and things like that, I do a lot of that on the weekend. And that was the one thing I got in trouble for, was working too much. So I've been trying to do, as my boss said, and unplug a little bit and take a little more time off. But yeah, just doing some maybe more 3-day weekends throughout the year to kind of unplug and recharge.
I like that. And I like that for you because it's very healthy to do that. I will say, as much as I like those week-long vacations, getting back is exhausting. The return is exhausting. So when I started thinking about it, and I was like, listen, I do have some, vacations for next year planned and whatnot, but I would much rather do a long weekend. All right, I'm going to leave on Thursday. I'm going to be back on Monday. It'll be great. And do some more of those long weekend type scenarios where I can sit and breathe and I can tune out and condition myself to unplug. Whereas I spend half my vacation, my week-long vacation, trying to learn how to unplug. That could be because I was not good about taking vacations before. But I just think that's a great happy medium. And some people like those, a bit more than a week long or 2 weeks.
I know one thing I like to do is like when we go to a conference somewhere. So we're going to San Antonio in October for AHEMA. And we've already talked about we may extend a couple of days. And I know Sam's going to go with me.
Yeah.
And we're going to go do some fun things too. And that's one way you can get a little relaxation in and not have to buy a plane ticket yourself. You can just take it on to the end of your work trip and do that. So we're going to do a few little things like that, I think, to help just kind of mellow out a little. Yeah.
And I think those things are so important. And so my commitment to you, as we slowly wrap this up, my commitment to you and to Vicky and to Jackie and to Lauren is that and Debbie, I'm going to do better at taking the time off, not because I want to put more things on you, but because I want to show you that you absolutely can take time off too. And if you want to take time off in, November, and then you want to take time off again in February, that's perfectly fine and okay. And so I'm going to do better at saying, you know what? Thursday and Friday, I'm off. But if you need something and it's an emergency, give me a call. But I'm going to be off Thursday and Friday. And so that is what I'm going to commit to you on this broadcast so that everybody can hold me accountable.
That's great. I feel the same way. And when you did my eval last year, I told you I was going to be more cognizant of that, and I have been for the most part.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've done that. But I think, like you said, in wrapping this up, we just need to remember that nobody's going to die. It's going to be okay. And you know what? That's why you have good people working for you, is so you can enjoy it and relax and not worry about what's going on at home.
100%. 100%. Well, Lorie, this has been fun. Thank you.
Yeah, it has. Thank you, Kristen. I'm loving it.
All right. Well, have a good one.
All right. Later, guys. Bye.